Welcome, everyone, to the second of the 4 OSITM 4-in-1 Mayor's Diary interviews this month. Today, my guest is noahclem. You might know him from his Mayor's Diary Silioki. I hope I pronounced that right.
Yeah, Silioki.
Which is stands for Hedgehog River, if I recall, right?
That's correct.
And what language is that based in?
That's in Finnish.
And that's where you're currently living now?
Yep.
All right, well, let's start out with what first got you started into SimCity 4?
SimCity 4, I think almost as soon as I had a computer that was really capable of running it, I knew it was a game that I wanted to play. I've been playing SimCity since the Super Nintendo version or the old Macintosh original version for many years, and SimCity 4 ended up turning into being, I think, by far the best of them, and it's something I really enjoyed.
And what do you think makes it the best that you've played of them?
Well, I guess, the level of detail is so much higher. And I think my favorite thing originally was the way the roads worked, especially after I discovered the NAM. But I was always frustrated in SimCity 3000 that I couldn't have like a freeway that would then really convert into a normal city road. And the one-way roads and other stuff provided neat options. And I guess transport was probably my favorite part of the game if I had to pick one.
And a quick look at your Mayor's Diary suggests that probably close runner-up with terrain mods, too.
Yeah, certainly enjoyed playing. I mean, all kinds of custom content is fun. And I do have a lot of fun switching in and out of terrain mods, rock mods, water mods, trying to combine them to get the perfect look that I feel an area could use.
Well, what got you started in wanting to make a Mayor's Diary in the first place?
Well, I've been observing the site, kind of lurking and getting involved occasionally in NAM-related threads. But I did enjoy a lot of the picture competition stuff, and Mayor's Diaries. And once I got to a point where I thought it would be something fun for people to look at, I went ahead and launched Silioki.
Was SC4 Devotion your first SimCity fan site, or have you been a member at Simtropolis or anything?
Yeah, well, I've been members of that, and I suppose a handful of others even, but I've pretty much only been active on SimCity 4 Devotion. I guess that kind of started with it just being where it seemed like most of the NAM-related conversation was that I was most interested in. And then just as time has gone forward and I've got more involved, it's just continued to be the site that fits me best, I guess.
And how long have you been at SC4 Devotion?
I'd have to check on my profile, actually. I think something like November 2008, maybe?
Let's see if I can pull that up here.
November 2008.
Yep, November 2nd, 2008. So you have an anniversary that just passed as the airing of this, I assume.
Yeah.
So congratulations on 4 years here.
Oh, thank you. It's been a good 4 years.
And, you know, for being here for 4 years, Silioki is relatively recent in terms of when it was created.
Yeah, well, as I mentioned, I was largely just lurking or occasionally get involved with transit-related suggestions or questions for most of the first, I suppose it's probably a year and a half till I really got past that and into maybe picture competition or commenting on other people's work.
And what was it that got you over that hurdle of just lurking?
What bumped me past that?
Yeah. What made you start posting more? What made you start posting pictures?
I don't know. I guess it was just kind of a slow process of just increasingly doing more and more stuff. And once I figured out how image hosting websites work and just felt comfortable posting a web forum, then I just continued to do it more and more until now I'm posting pretty regularly. And of course, contributing a lot of my own pictures and whatever through my Mayor's Diary.
And was there a particular purpose you had in mind when you started Silioki?
Um, I guess basically to just build like the best type of city I could for me, incorporating like all the things that I've wanted to do in SimCity over the years. And it took me about maybe 6 months or a little more between when I actually started the region of Silioki and when I officially started the Mayor's Diary, though I may have showed pictures after only a few months.
Was it always intended to be a Mayor's Diary region, or is it something that just kind of came to be?
Kind of just came to be. You know, the possibility of having a Mayor's Diary eventually was already in my head when I started Silioki, but it certainly wasn't a certainty that I would do it.
So what finally made you make the first post?
I felt like I had enough. The city developed enough that I had a critical amount of material where I could show an update that I'd be really proud of, and I felt confident I could get a nice reaction from people with, and then still have enough city that after that it wouldn't take me 3 more months to have my first update.
Yeah, you've been updating pretty regularly since it started too.
Yeah, there's been
Uh,
some little breaks of a few weeks maybe, but pretty much trying to stay consistent.
do you keep updates in reserve, or is it just you make it a point to play each week to make sure you have the stuff? How do you do it?
Well, no, I don't keep updates in reserve. I guess I may have once or twice when I had an OSITM or something. I often have like leftover pictures that didn't make it into the previous update, or something of a different style, or I'll have areas that are partially done but not really ready for an update. So if I feel like I don't have enough material to do a real update, then I can still put up a few pics to kind of say, this is what I'm working on now. I'm still here, um, and the direction we're moving towards is this. So even though I don't have a lot of time for SimCity, I can still kind of keep the Silioki Mayor's Diary and community active.
Now, I know you mentioned the NAM as being one of your big influences in your playing style, I guess you could say.
Yeah,
And I've noticed that parts of Silioki can best be described as spaghetti bowls of transit. Not just,
yeah,
freeways, not just streets, not just roads. They all manage to intermingle almost effortlessly from the looks of it.
almost what
Is
from the
that
looks of it?
effortlessly?
Ah, that's if it looks like that, it's certainly not the case. Those things, those things start as an idea, and then they move to graph paper, and then they might move to like a maybe I'll go straight to where they're designed to be, but I'll also sometimes just go to an empty tile and see like how much space these different things actually take for sure, and then build this spaghetti bowl in the middle of nowhere, and then realize yes it fits in this spot, and then actually take it to the city and do it.
Let's take an example here. Picture number 29.2 from one of your recent updates back in, it was August, I think. One of the things that I noticed of it has, multi-lane avenues beyond just the two lane. It has, three lane wide each way, tram and avenue, stations right next to high rises. It all seems to blend very fluidly and presents an actual effective network. Couple questions I have there. When you find the picture, was this area, I guess, built in your mind before it was built, or did it come to be as you were playing?
Yeah, it's.
Big.
I mean, I had some plan for it. Like the basic grid was worked out on graph paper beforehand. But otherwise, I mean, a lot of it just kind of happens spontaneously. I'll either grow or plop depending on the amount of demand I have. Uh, the kind of buildings I think will look nice and blend well together, and then see what I come up with. That certainly isn't premeditated. It's just kind of hoping that it comes together right.
So then, what parts of this picture in particular were pre-planned, on graph paper? Which parts of it came to be?
Well, I had a general route for like where the canal would run and where the streets would go. So like the walls and the trams and the streets would all have been, at least to some extent, at least have if not all the details, at least an outline of a general plan on paper. And the rest of the stuff would be just waiting to see what grows or plopping in something that I think looks nice. You can see there's that bridge, the 6-lane road bridge.
Up near the top?
Yeah, up to the top left. There's, I believe you're familiar with them as a nut, but I don't know if I've showed them to anybody else. Those walls they made are actually based off of lots plopped in the bottom of the canal. Of course, I had to think about that ahead of time. I never did get the lot to work to cover those sloped tiles on the outside yet. So as you can see, there's not much protecting a pedestrian from falling off the side.
Right. No, no real guardrails there.
No, just the middle part of the bridge.
So then, how did
Uh,
you make that bridge? Was that with the removal of the sea level, seawater mod?
yep, yep. That's just like the road part itself was. I had the diagonal bridge enabler installed at that time, and then just drug that across. It was actually a huge pain in the ass, or excuse me if that's an inappropriate word, because there's a sloped part of that road. You can't really see it behind the buildings, and with that zero slope being installed, it really doesn't. It won't let you connect anything if there's part of the road is sloped. It took a lot of dragging and deleting and trying to get the area right before it ever looked like what you can see in the picture.
So then, as far as the transit network goes, the trams that I'm seeing right around there, and I see cars in the streets, it's an actual functional network there. It's not just eye candy.
Yes, it's the actual functional area. Those are all automata that showed up, not nothing I stuck there. So yeah, it's pretty well used area. When I plan these, I mean, I try to set them up in a way that they'll actually really be used because I do run time in the game and things would get dilapidated pretty quick if those networks weren't able to get people where they need to go efficiently.
So what's your philosophy of playing? What drives you, or what is? How do you enter the game when you're ready to play for a session? What is it you're looking to do? Is it to recreate something from reality, or make beautiful pictures, as everyone can see your mayor's diary that you do?
Oh,
Uh,
it's a variety of things. Of course, a lot of what I play is for Selioki and to post pictures that people will like. Um, I also just really like to think of a clever way to implement something, maybe a way that it's not normally done or that is unique and interesting that hopefully other people will then enjoy. So those are probably my two biggest things, I guess.
so as an example, if you can think of anything of something new that you've done with the game, anything come to mind with that?
Well, sticking with the same picture, that what I mentioned with that bridge uh, is I guess something I think that I was the first to do. Of course, the diagonal bridges or draggable zero slope bridges have been around, but I don't know that I've seen anybody else take an override network like something NWM like and do the same type of thing.
That's one of the questions I had for you. The diagonal bridge mod has been around for a little while, as well as the network widening mod, which gave you the three lane wide roads,
Mm.
and the sea level mod, the thing that allows you to get rid of the game water temporarily. those have
Hmm.
been around for a little while, and you said you haven't seen many people use them before. Do you have any tips for people that may want to try something like that haven't done it before to save them a bit of a headache?
Sure. Uh, if you look at the little links in my signature, there's one about making the bridge the length you want. That also has a tutorial for instead of just getting rid of all the water, getting rid of some of the water, which is what I normally do. I usually work with maybe say a 230 meter sea level instead of 250, and then I'm able to terraform the areas in the river just like I would normal land, which makes I think just makes things a lot easier. With the stuff, the diagonal bridges stuff itself, biggest thing I'd recommend is it's just a bit of patience. It can be really frustrating if things just don't get drawn quite right. There's ways that it can be quite finicky. So if it doesn't work right the first time, don't throw your computer in the garbage and start screaming. Just try it again or do something else for a while and come back to it. It gets easier after you've done it a bit.
And as you were saying with the slope mod, it has to be perfectly level on each side. Did you basically just start on one side, level straight across, and then redig the canal to make sure?
Yes.
Or
Yep, that's exactly it.
I notice a lot of trams used in Silioki. Um,
Hmm.
you're from the U.S. originally. You live
Yep.
in, I think if I remember right, you said Finland now, right?
Yep. Finland now, and from the Midwest U.S. Originally, so
Have
not many
have
trams
street
on there.
yeah, have streetcars been a big thing? Do you like them? Where'd your interest in those come up with, and how did they make it into your mayor's diary?
Oh, I've just always really liked trams. When I was younger and traveling in Europe for the first times, places like Amsterdam or more recently Helsinki or other old world cities, trams have such a nice character, and there's for me such a pleasant way to drive that also or to travel that also has kind of a neat historical or aesthetic aspect to them. So it was something I was excited to be able to incorporate into Silioki.
Do they have a good network of them around where you live, or
No,
what's it like?
I live in northern Finland, like in Lapland basically. So I mean, there's not even though Finland has a very well developed mass transit, it's pretty tricky to get around here without having a car.
So where's the nearest tram to you then?
I guess it would be Helsinki, so about an 8 hour drive away or an hour flight. Yeah, I'm really pretty middle of nowhere. There's a lot more reindeer where I live than there are people.
And that brings up another interesting point. How's Hugo doing?
Hugo? No, he's still kicking it. We had I don't know if they were the same reindeer or not, but I had about a month of this summer where a family of reindeer took over the backyard here again.
And for those
Actually,
of you
pretty
that,
funny. Almost every day I'd have reindeer actually come onto the terrace of my restaurant. I live in the same building as I work in, and I'd look out there while the restaurant's open and everything, and a reindeer would just be sitting there under the umbrella, maybe eating my flowers or whatever. And that was probably Hugo.
and for those of you that don't know, a few months back, Noah here had a contest in his mayor's diary to name the reindeer that had been taking residence on his property. The winning vote was for Hugo, which now graces the reply section of each update of Silioki.
Hmm.
And they have apparently become.
Came up with a name actually.
Who was it?
Rick D was the contest winner.
Of Empire Bay.
Yes.
And then kind of getting back to trying things new and new concepts. In addition to your transportation, I noticed you also use a lot of diagonal angles, diagonal roads, diagonal buildings, which
Yeah.
have just probably within the last year started to really become a thing in the game.
To some
Uh,
extent, yeah. There's never been a whole lot of them. One of maybe my favorite ones are actually quite old. The ones by Prepo from a fellow Finn actually. I think those were maybe 2005 or sometime back. The
that
best
early.
mod is available on the Lex, so it's not that old. But But it seems like maybe it's more recently that there's been a critical mass of bats, so you can actually create diagonal areas and still avoid a lot of repetition.
Do you happen to have picture 2711 available?
Yes, I do.
And again, there's the tram going across the northern part of the picture, roads going everywhere, roundabout that branches off into looks like a diagonal bridge, and then a diagonal up what looks like a a building that grew there in real life. Is this one of the ones from 2005 you were talking about, or?
Actually, no. The diagonal there is some of Xanapan's most recent stuff. And I
And
guess
is
there's
that
another
one?
one behind that that I'm not sure who made it.
And is that it's not one whole building? Is that's a couple of them together, or how does that
Yeah,
work?
there's two diagonal ones, and then those two old Odd from Sweden bars there in that block.
All right, and did
Block.
all those grow there, or do the diagonal buildings are they just ploppables?
Yeah, those are all populables. Diagonal buildings can't really grow. I think maybe someone had a scheme for how he could make them grow quickly in his mayor's diary. Carl Fatal, I think. But I've never heard of anybody else do them besides a ploppable way, which is why they're never residentials.
Makes sense. Yeah, it's you can't get a residential plop and actually sustain jobs or
Right.
produce jobs, I should say.
Yeah, at least not have any kind of commuting like a
Right.
residential plop.
And then scrolling down to the bottom part of that, the picture there, one of
Hmm.
the things I've noticed in Silioki, a lot of mosaics, a lot of long pictures.
Yeah, I really enjoy making mosaics. It's kind of
Um,
a nice medium to present things in. Show a
yeah,
variety of areas.
I have another one in mind for the mosaics, but at least for the bottom of this picture, the parks, the paths, the very nice curve to the seawall. How much of
Hmm.
this was custom made by yourself?
Um,
Like
see,
custom in the lot editor and all that?
yeah, I'm just thinking. Most of it not. That the one where that covered bridge comes out of. That's something I allotted. And then I guess those walls to the right of that are all ones I allotted. But I think the rest of it is relatively original stuff from Xanapan's Paris Quay seawalls.
Hmm.
Although I MMP'd those giraffe trees over them. See a little extra
Okay,
work.
MMP for being mayor mode plopped, so they actually have the
Yeah.
ability to plop stuff on the lots there.
Yeah, if the lot doesn't have too much on it, you can usually plop MMPs on it. I don't know
All
the
right.
exact details on how it works, but I just kind of try to do it, and if the tree comes, it comes. If not, move on to something else.
And all those park paths with the obelisk there, those are all by Xanapan?
No, those park paths are the newest set from, I guess you'd say Pang or Simtropolis and Simpeg.
Yeah, Paeng, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Interesting. Haven't seen those yet. And is the obelisk by the same person, or where'd you find that?
I'm not sure actually. That might be Xanapan again, or
Okay.
maybe just the whole. That's from Paris. I can tell you that.
Maybe I'll have to look it up at the end of this, put a link in the description to this video or something.
Yeah, we could do that.
But then transportation and, diagonal city building, those aren't your only tastes in the game. I know you have done a significant amount of work with flora, terrain mods,
Hmm.
and did a whole area around a ski area at one point. I believe
Yeah,
it was update 21 in part.
yeah. Let me just pull that up. Yeah, update 21. Where I had a lot of fun with that ski area. It's surprisingly easy to put together because someone made a nice map and then Giraffe made some nice trees and then I forget who his name was, but this that snow was from the Antarctic Train mod, and yeah, I was able to throw together some shots. Was really happy with. Oh no, of course, Giraffe ski lifts there. Uh,
Oh yeah, those things are
wondering
great.
ski hills off of those.
Are those the variable length ones? You can just kind of build them as far as you want to?
Yeah, they're completely modular. So like this one runs for I think maybe even 2 kilometers.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's
That's pretty
a
much
long
the
one.
length of an entire large map, isn't it? Or no, it's
Large
four
map,
kilometers.
4 kilometers, and this is a large tile. I think. Oh, maybe it's more like a kilometer, kilometer and a half long ski lift. So it's pretty long.
Nice ride back down, though.
Yeah, yeah, it'd be a good long run skiing there.
Yeah, it looks like a great slopes you have there. I gotta ask, at the top of 21.1 there, there's a little area that's not covered in snow. Is that cliff there, or what's up with that area?
Yeah, yep, that's just a cliff there. Just an
Okay, it
area
looked like there was a part of the area might have gotten missed by the snow.
Oh no, the snow is built right into the terrain mod, but if it's too steep of a slope, then it reverts to whatever rock mod you have installed. Yes.
It looks really good. Have you had any issues working with it, or any tips for
I've
working with it?
um it's actually been really easy to work with. The only issue I guess I've had, if you could say that, is that the real low elevations look more icy than snowy. It's kind of tricky to get a good transition to water because there's not really an ice water mod. Unfortunately, if anybody's that's really good at this type of thing is listening right now, please make an ice water mod. I would love it. But yeah, other than those small setbacks, it's ran real smoothly for me.
So when you're putting together any kind of terrain area, floral, trees, land, how do you go about putting that together? What is your inspiration for that?
Hmm. Well, I usually kind of build it around something, some kind of road or some kind of other interesting thing I can think of. Uh, and then I try to terraform it so I get the beach where I want it and not where I don't want it, for example. That can be kind of tricky, but if you do that shift one tool on the regular terraforming tools, you get a lot more precision control. So
Yeah,
you
that
can
shrinks
control,
down the affected area.
yeah, it just really reduces the affected area. So you can target a single tile easily.
And
So
then do
I
you have
kind
a? Oh, go ahead.
of, I just tweak that and then put in all the trees I want, and then maybe some other MMPs if I want to add some character like a deer stand or some animals or whatever.
Are these areas based on real life areas you're familiar with, or is it just whatever looks good to you?
Just whatever looks good to me.
And are these
I don't.
planned out on graph paper as well, or they just come to you as you're going through them?
These are more spontaneous. Yeah, just I mean, it might be part of a larger graph paper plan for an area's transit network, but that would be the full extent of the detail. And the rest of it's just executed in the game.
All right.
The planning stuff I find is just kind of necessary for if you want to have a control freak level of control of the NAM. I think you just have to plan, or else you're going to be so frustrated with it that it loses a lot of its fun.
Do you have any background in civic planning or anything?
Uh, Kind of. I did. I mean, my university education is for political science and economics, and I did some planning classes. Um, Actually, I got offered a job as a intern some years ago, but I didn't ever do it actually.
You were offered
The
a
plan.
job as a paid intern, what, for a city?
Yeah. Actually, yeah, it would have been 2 summers. One for public works, and the second for the planning department. Or I could have taken just a 1 summer thing, and then that would have been for planning.
How far in advance do you plan Silioki?
Um, well, I guess pretty far, at least in a general sense. I mean, like the layout, the basic layout of the region's motorways I planned when I was first planning the region, 2.5 years ago. I still haven't built most of it because, in many ways, I work at a very slow pace, particularly with regard to transit networks, I guess. Well, I don't know. I guess sometime ahead. But at the same time, I couldn't tell you in 2 months what area I'll be working on or what will be there.
And do you have a finished product in mind? Do you know what Silioki is going to look like when it's done? Or will it ever be done?
Well, ideally, it won't be done because then I don't know what I would do with SimCity. But
So
Uh,
no plans to
yeah,
close up shop anytime soon.
no, I don't think so. I think I'll
Good,
most likely be playing the same region for at least another couple of years.
good to hear. Good to
Um,
hear.
yeah, I mean, I plan on expanding into more, like a lot of it's going to be suburban area that'll grow fairly easily, I think, and fast. Once I extend outside of the core area that I'm still working on.
So then, as you're going through, does the end goal for it ever change, or the picture in your head that you have for it? How has that
Um,
changed as you've gone along?
oh, that's a really good question. Oh, well, and a lot of things I just hadn't thought of, like that ski hill. It's a whole city tile that's mostly devoted to a ski hill. It's just one strip along its border, but tying into the cities next to it and having actual town there. Didn't think of that before. And sometimes technology has changed to allow things like uh, like diagonal bridges, besides just the very basic road or one-way road without decorations that have been available for some of these. That I guess changed a lot of plans for how the main routes would work in on a large scale of the region.
Do
Original
you find
plans
yourself
for which extra freeways go have changed because of it.
so with the change in technology? Do you find yourself going back to old areas, or do you find yourself planning new areas, expecting technology to change? Does that impact your building at all?
Yeah, I definitely do some going back to old areas and doing some new work on them to get the newer level of technology. I also do something which I would not recommend to other people, which is to wait to develop an area until the technology I want to use is released. Uh, the only reason I do it is because I know I have the patience to just work on something else until I'm ready. But the more you wait for something to be released, I think the longer it ends up taking. So it can be a pretty frustrating habit, if that makes any sense.
No, it does. Do you find yourself, I guess, making room in your mind if you just build an area out, expecting to upgrade it later, or do you find yourself conflicted with, I really like that building, but this road needs to be widened?
I try to plan around like the road widening and stuff like that, so I should ideally never have to really take them out. Sometimes it just happens though, and the buildings had to go then.
So then, if you have picture number 13.7 from one of your updates available,
Yeah,
going back
yep,
to
got it
your
right here.
going back to Silioki's love of mosaics, I think this
Yeah,
may be one of the longest ones I've seen in a while, and also probably one of the most detailed.
well, thank you kindly.
Starting off with the highway up at the top, 3 lanes each way, turning lanes and all that, trees on each side. Is this something that is as wide as it's going to get, do you think, or is this something that you may have planned for widening later on?
Um, that's almost certainly as wide as it would get. Um, the motorway that road connects to actually has been widened since then, I think. A little bit. That's changed
Yeah,
layout at least to some extent.
the one crossing over top of it, or
The one
which particular roadway?
if you get to right below that circular loop, that roadway that's there.
Okay, right in line with the little the tall red building.
Yeah, it runs right into that big red apartment.
Okay.
That I think has been widened slightly since then, and I think uh, if if when diagonal RHW8C comes out, if there's also smooth turns to diagonal, then I may very well upgrade that into a wider highway.
Now I've got to ask, you seem to
Hmm.
use it pretty effortlessly, pretty flawlessly. The RHW, rural highway, now the real highway,
Hmm.
it scares me. There
Yeah.
are so many options. I've tried figuring it out. I've, poked at it a few times out of
Hmm.
curiosity, but I've never quite got the hang of it. Do you have any secrets or tricks for it that you use? Or is it just
Um,
a lot of beating the
It really
pieces
is a
until they
lot of that
fit.
planning, a lot of just kind of patience. I mean, like this interchange that we're discussing now, that's gone through several incarnations as I've decided, oh, maybe this way will work better than this way. Uh, or maybe I find out, for example, at that bottom right, I think I had trouble with the light rail crossing over the MIS next to the RHW6S. Then I had to totally redo the way that I had that set up. I don't think it's ever going to be real easy, but there are a lot of things in this newest version that should kind of make things easy and reduce the number of pieces. But in the end, just planning and patience. That's how
Right.
the only way to do it, I think.
Yeah, it makes sense to have an idea of what you want before you go into it.
Yeah.
I guess the biggest issue I've had is sorting through all the pieces. Do you have any sort of inventory of what there is, or do you just have an idea of what you want and spend the time looking through the menus to find it?
Well, honestly, at this point, I know everything that there is, so and where it is, but it just kind
What?
of took time for me to actually memorize what all's available.
It's one of those things that just gets easier with time.
Yeah, definitely.
All right. And then going down a little further into the picture, I mean, going back to the transit spaghetti bowl idea, at the top
Sure.
of this mosaic, you have the rural highways, real highways, you have rail crossing them, overpasses, and then you come down a little further into the actual little denser city, and you have a very nice roundabout made with tram and road to diagonal one-way roads with the light rail going through the middle, and then you have an
Hmm.
elevated heavy rail going across the top.
Yeah.
This had to have been planned out in your mind before you started this. This didn't just
Oh, yeah.
happen, did it?
Well, I was, yeah, well, I had that idea that I want to have this type of station there, and then the area just kind of grew around that actually. But I mean, the station itself, with its roundabout, took a decent amount of planning.
And the station in
Um,
particular, is that one solid lot, one single thing?
there's a couple of just tiles of parks, like I think where those lighter colored trees are. Those are just
Or-
park lots. I think actually I might have made them.
Those are Xanapan's trees, yeah?
Are they?
I think they are, I'm
Oh
not
yeah, I
sure.
think you're right. I think they're actually lots that I got from what is that? Not Gree Pizza, but one of those Kazuki, one of the
Kazuki.
Japanese creators. And yeah, he
Okay.
had his own texture on them, and I changed it back to a plain white Maxis one.
So
But I think you're right.
the station itself, is it a light rail, heavy rail crossover station, or did you plop two of them next to each other that are overlapping?
It's both crossover. There's actually like to the bottom right of where the actual station is. There's one tile, and that's the whole station lot. It's just one large overhanging prop.
Is that the one with the Maxis trees on it?
Yeah,
Okay. Just
yeah.
to
The
the right
whole
of the
actual
light rail
station is
station.
one tile, and that overhangs over everything else.
Okay, so it's actually the light rail going through with the heavy rail crossover, and it's a picture that basically plops everything over top of it.
Exactly.
Yeah, I was wondering how you did that. You can see on the right-hand side the heavy rail viaduct pillar underneath the station there.
Hmm.
But yeah, I was wondering how you managed to pull that off. So it's meant as a light rail, heavy rail crossover station, or is it just a basic station that looks like that to use whatever network you want for it?
Yeah. Well, the way the lot technically is, it accepts both types of traffic. And then my idea there is to have the longer distance rail route that actually runs towards the city center uh, be able to um, traffic to change between that and the local tram traffic.
I don't know. I think this particular area is one of the things that just typifies everything that Silioki is. If there is a way to sum it all up in one picture, you have the diagonal buildings, diagonal roads, transit networks going left and right, crossing over each other. Everything seems full of life. It's all being used.
Yeah, that's pretty much exactly what I'm trying to create. So in that sense, I would definitely call this representative of what I'm trying to make CDLTB.
So then where does it go from here?
Where does Celiope go from here?
Yes.
Oh, well, it'll be a lot of the same type of stuff that I've shown so far. I mean, the common thread will always be me trying to do things like this mosaic where I take a number of disparate elements and then combine them in a way that's interesting and aesthetically pleasing. Um, we'll probably see some types of places we haven't before, like the suburbs we mentioned. I'm thinking at some point I want to make some more Mediterranean areas along the far southeast coast of the region. More beach stuff in general, I guess.
Okay.
And of course, there's going to be a lot more going on with the NAM, the RHW side of things. Some big interchanges that, especially whenever the Project 57 technology is ready to really be used, there's going to be some pretty cool looking interchanges showing up.
Well, all right. It's been a pleasure chatting with you over this last, what seems like an hour now. Um, Tune in next week for when we'll be interviewing someone new from the SimCity 4 community. And Noah, you have any last things you want to say?
Just thank you very much for taking the time to put these together, and thanks to all the readers of Celiope and to you guys that are listening today.
And for those of you that haven't found it yet, shame on you. No, you can find Noah's Mayor's Diary in the Classics section. It's coming up on, I think, probably over 1,000 posts now, isn't it?
Uh, Sitting a little ahead of 800 now.
A little ahead of it. Okay, coming up to 1,000 posts.
Yeah, hopefully for a whole lot longer.
All right, it's been a pleasure talking with you, Noah. Have a good one.
Yep, you too, buddy.